Welcome, welcome. We are live. At least I'm live from downtown Champaign, Illinois. Name's Nate Allball, longtime high school football coach here out of Illinois. And we got a great night ahead of us, man. We're going live from about 8 to 8:30 with some strength and conditioning coaches, followed up by one of our special clinic videos that comes straight from the online clinic. That's over at clinic.chiefpigskin.com. We've got an incredible online clinic that, well, we've worked on really hard for several years. We want to show it off, and so we put a video or two on per week for you to check out. Now, if you watch this Hangout more than one day after it has posted, then that video will no longer be available here on the YouTube channel, but instead will be always available over on the online clinic. Now, never fear, we'll have more stuff available for you to check out for free if you like getting some free stuff. Just check us out here on YouTube every night. We go live or some version of live every night, Monday through Thursday. The goal is to make it 12 weeks, man. We're in week number 8 of going live Monday through Thursday. It's been a grind, but it has been fun. And slowly but surely, our guys that have been hanging out with us has continued to grow. So we got strength and conditioning coaches in the house tonight. I'm about to let them in here in the Zoom meeting. When you get here, guys, check in. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're one of our regular guys, usually just by saying hi, we know you. We know where you're from. Campos in the house. See, we know Campos. Campos from Carbondale, Illinois. So check in and say hi. And if you've never checked in before, well, check in and let us know where you're watching from. We love having you guys and really appreciate all your support. Tonight is Strength and Conditioning Hangout. You know, we don't always necessarily we're not trying to teach you anything when we do our Hangouts. We're just doing just that. We're just hanging out. It's Strength and Conditioning coaches hanging out. When we do a wing T night, it's wing T coaches hanging out. Now, what happens when strength coaches hang out? Well, they talk strength. What happens with my wife when a whole bunch of her photographer friends hang out? They end up talking photography. So yes, we will of course talk coaching, but we don't have an agenda. And like I like to say, we don't have anything to teach you. So if you're here to learn, sorry, you'll probably pick something up, but just through hanging out with us. Don't be afraid to check in over on the side. As we ask questions to our experts here, don't be afraid to give your own answers there in the chat. Don't be afraid to shoot your own questions out at our guests as well. Welcome, Coach Hughes. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you just fine. It's nice to meet you. My name's Nate.
Nice to meet you, Nate. I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Yeah, I'm out of Champaign, Illinois. Where are you out of?
I'm out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama. I don't hear an Alabama accent.
Well, I've lived all over the country. I was a college strength coach for the first part of my career. I've lived in Louisiana, Colorado, and now here. So I'm from Alabama. But I feel like I've been somewhat cultured because I've lived in different areas of the country. So I don't know. You might hear my wife. You might think different. So
now, what school are you at?
I'm at a private high school in Huntsville, Alabama called Madison Academy. Okay, we're about a 3A size school. For some perspective, for some high school coaches, we're K through 12, but our upper school is 7 through 12, and we have about 495 students. So to give some context there. Yep.
Yeah. Well, great to have you. Welcome. And Coach Adams in the house. How are you?
Oh, dude, I'm good. How are you?
Really good, man. Tell everybody where you're from too. I know I just had you on the Power Hour the other day, a couple weeks ago, but let everybody else know where you're from.
Academy.
We
got, that cut out.
Yeah, we got some internet problems. That's all right. Try one more time.
Off that.
Little bit, sometimes.
Wait, okay. Again, George Adams, Madison, Mississippi at Madison Ridgeland Academy, a private school, about 20 minutes outside of Jackson.
Nice, we got you now. Madison Academy, defending state champs, right?
Yes,
Football. Well, we got Quiroga in the house. Welcome, Coach Quiroga. William Papp. Now, I feel like I've seen your name before, Coach Papp, but I know we haven't had you here for a while, or at least you haven't checked in for a while. Would you mind letting us know where you're from? For those of you guys, if you've joined before, you know the routine. For you guys that are here with us, man, we got half an hour. We talk. We just talk. We hang out. We call them hangouts for a reason. We don't have an agenda. We're not necessarily trying to teach anybody anything, but, we always end up talking shop. And then we try hard to balance the conversation between you guys and our guys that are watching live in the chat over on YouTube. So want everybody to feel like they're a part of it. Let us know where you're from. And if you have any questions, we'll try hard to get them over to our guests. We had another guest, but it looks like he's a little busy, right? And who was that? What was his first name? It's Coach Quick.
Yeah, Taylor said, their game got moved up due to weather. He's kind of a dual guy. He's a strength guy and a O-line coach, and I think he's stuck game planning and doing some things to get ready. So can't blame him. Maybe he might jump in last minute, but unfortunately, it looks like he's not going to be able to make it right now. So
yeah, no problem. Hey, a little bit. I want to ask the guys in our chat right now. Okay, William Papp got back to us here from Flint, Michigan. Bendel High School out of Flint, Michigan. Welcome, Coach Papp. Have you been around before? I recognize the name. Looks like Coach Adams having some small internet problems, but we'll get him back. Want to ask our guys in the chat before we get going with our experts here. It looks like we're going to start with you, Coach Hughes. But guys in the chat, how many of your schools, if any of your schools, have a strength and conditioning guy? Does your school have one? Or is it every coach for himself? Or have the coaches in your building gotten on one page? Let us know what the situation is in your school there in the chat while we start this conversation over here with Coach Hughes. Coach Hughes, until we get Coach Adams back, I'm going to start soft play with you. How long have you been the strength coach there, and how long has your school had a strength coach?
Yeah, that's a good starter there. So I'm going into year 3. I'm a quarter into my 3rd year. Came over in 2018. Came over in May of 2018. And my school has had a strength coach since 2016. So a total of really 4 years-ish. I think that's right. Maybe going back to 2015 as far as formally and full time. Now they've had a strength coach for 20 years, but they've always outsourced to a guy who was local, who's still here in Huntsville doing great things and coached some really good NFL players. Like if you know of Reggie Ragland, who played at Alabama, Jordan Matthews, who played at Vanderbilt and played with the Eagles for a little while. Those guys were in the Huntsville area. He trained NFL players, but it's been there for about full-time for about 4 years. And really the administration got together and saw that, athletics was going to be important. It was going to be prioritized. And one of the things they wanted to do to create an edge for our kids was to have somebody that could unify the program as far as strength training goes. But cool part about our school is that we see it as more of a human developer. My actual title that our president calls me is the director of human performance. And he says, it's not always, I didn't name you the director of athletic performance on purpose, because it's not always about the performance in athletics. It's about how you're making an impact on their lives as humans, right? Whether it be physical, emotional, spiritual, all across the board. And I thought that was really unique. And I was really fortunate to be able to come join what they got going over here. So it's been about 4 years, and it's an awesome thing that I get to do what I do.
That's great, man. And when you said that the school has had a strength guy for 20 years, that's a long time, man. Like 20 years ago, man, there's a lot of schools that were still, honestly, in the dark ages. You'd be surprised. I don't think, actually, you guys probably wouldn't be surprised how many schools still live in the dark ages of strength conditioning. You guys probably know it better than anybody. Coach Adams, how long has Ridgeland Academy had a strength coach? And how long have you filled that chair?
So this is my 2nd year here. Probably similar to Cody. I was the first strength conditioning coach purely that they've had. Like most places, there's a crossover guy, but they've always pushed it. I think before me, it was the offensive line coach. Here, they did 180 athletics, which is doing really good stuff for coaches for teams and schools that don't have strength conditioning coaches purely as that. They did the 180 athletics program. I know for at least a year. Kind of done some of the outsourcing stuff, just I think Coach Davis especially, he's always about trying to find what's the next best thing. And so I think it just kind of evolved to a point where they were like, we got to have a dude that's doing this, because the whole athletic department kind of got behind it. So
yeah. I mean, we're and Illinois, man. Strength coaches are rare, and it is just rare. And so I'm jealous to see how many guys are in states where it's actually way more common, right? And so that's crazy. We got a couple other coaches that have joined us in the house. William Fly in the house. We had him on the Power Hour, strength coach. Coach Fly, I cannot remember what state you're from, though, and I want to say
North Carolina.
Coach. I was just guessing which Carolina. I want to say it was Carolina. Ron Jankovic in the house. Coach Jankovic was on the Power Hour. And
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of his school, though. Man, I'm glad you guys seem to know each other, though.
Oh man, where's Ronnie from? Etowah? Is Ronnie at Etowah? No.
That sounds really familiar. Let us know where you're from.
Etowah.
Ron, yes. Etowah High School. Both of those guys have been on the Power Hour. Coach Hughes, we got to get you on the Power Hour. Let's get you on, man. So I'm going to look you up after this and figure out when we can get you on the Power Hour if you're willing to share. I've got 4 more weeks to go, and that has been my study. Fellas, here's what I want to know. What is, and I see it, and I actually see, so, Twitter is a great place, but people love to fight on Twitter. I actually saw more of the aftermath of some arguments than I saw of actual arguments. But I'm just curious to know, what is the battle, or what are the sticking points between the new way of thinking and the old, right? What is the old versus new school breakup here? What are some differences? Maybe there's not one, but give us an idea as to what are some of the sticking points that strength coaches are at odds about.
Man, I'm going to try to lay this out the best I can, because I think it really gets lost in the mix. And I really participate quite a bit in Twitter, and I get a lot of flack for it, but I am who I am, and I'm 10 toes down, as I like to say. But you got the old school coach, old school, who takes a lot of pride in the weight room, but they look at it as a cultural way to be able to cultivate, motivate their team. And I'm going to speak of good in both. I don't really want to speak bad, because I think it's most of a miscommunication cross, and Twitter is a really hard medium to get on the same page. So I'm going to speak of the good from both sides.
Well said.
The weight room comes with, 300 pounds is 300 pounds. Either you can lift it or you can't. And how you approach that 300 pounds is going to tell you a lot about the character of a player, of an athlete, and what it means to the team. Standards, when things get tough, right? When things get heavy, how are you going to respond? That really helps with standards for the team in order to win in a team setting, right? And coaches see that as a big motivator. Now you've got, on the other side, you've got the new school coaches who are really, at this point, strength conditioning is a very new profession. I mean, it's not even 100 years old. We're in the first 100 years we're still finding out new things, and our profession has grown faster than ever. And one of the things that I think that the new school coaches are finally finding out is that a lot of the studies and things that they're researching and new methods are starting to really have some really cool findings of actually developing physical attributes and everything that applies to sport, right? And then the new school coaches are like, we're starting to find out that the weight room is a little more overrated than we thought. If you look at the game of football, you look at guys like, a great example would be Hollywood Brown for the Ravens, or Christian McCaffrey for the Panthers. So you look at Christian McCaffrey's 22-25 bench press, it was 10 reps at the combine. Yet he's a first-round draft pick and one of the most valuable players in the entire NFL, right? They start to value speed. They start to value, the cognitive concepts of being able to understand the game of football and how to actually train it on a holistic perspective. And they're like, the weight room is really overrated. And then they just clash, right? When in reality, I don't think that a lot of coaches understand that it can be both. Like, why can't we have both? Why can't that be our standard? We can have the physiological gurus and the culture cultivators come together. Why can't we have both? I think that's what me and Coach Adams are really trying to drive at both of our schools. So
Okay.
that kind of sets the context, if that makes sense.
I like that. Anything that you would add to that, Coach Adams? You guys in the chat as well. Any thoughts on that? What are some of the sticking points between the old and the new?
I think the old school coaches and the like new school coaches, I think those are, you see those and you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like this guy has been doing, you know, bigger, faster, stronger, and like the only culture builder, mental toughness thing. And the new school guy is like, oh, here's science, here's all of this. We don't have to do 5x5. What I think is interesting, and I know I've seen Cody talk about it, is the new school coaches, like, it's like people get on Twitter and they're like, nope, this is all this person must be doing, when it's all contextual. You know, you post, a big thing right now is like flying 10 times or timing anything. And everybody's like, there's no way he ran that, he didn't do that. And it's like, well, you haven't seen everything that's built up to this point. You're just assuming this is a flash in the pan. And then I think that's where we see a lot of these big like spark ups and 60 comments pop up, and just people getting way too heated about a Twitter exchange, which is very interesting to me. Like Cody said, it's super hard to find context with everything going on. Because what I do here at MRA is going to be different than what Cody can do. That doesn't make him a better strength coach than me, and that doesn't make me a better strength coach than him. It's just our kids work differently.
No doubt. And that's why we need to have conversations, is because even though that we can draw on each other and what we do, and a lot of people that get large followings on Twitter, you know, they're real consistent with what they post. They back what they post. But you don't really see what goes on day to day. Like, and the best thing that we can do is pick up a phone and have a conversation. All right, what's your schedule like? What's your room? What's your resources? What's your space? You know, what's the actual like current environment, or what's going on with the team, the administration, the teachers? Like all of that formula, that's chemistry that you have to, the strength coach has to be able to read and decipher and break down, and then make a decision on how we do things, right? And I think a good segue, if we don't have any questions, is like, I'm starting to see strength coaches really start to add value by earning respect, by adding value to head sport coaches in their practices, right? And their skill development. You know, a lot of times strength coaches get caught up in their dungeon with all the iron, and you don't see them until they come out of their lair, right?
Yeah.
And wearing a cutoff and snorting pre-workout. And it's like nothing matters but weight. Right. And then you look at the old school coach too, right, is all about, well, one of the only things that is quantitative and measurable is like 1RMs. Like, I know I can see how much weight is on the bar, and if you either did it or didn't, I measured it. It's really hard to measure quality movement, right? Science, like those things, like you can't, the old school coach doesn't know how to measure it, so they're not going to spend time on it because they don't know. They're just ignorant, and it's not their fault, right? They don't know, you know what I mean? So like, that's where I feel like strength coaches got to move to, is to start adding more value in places outside of strength.
I like, you said a lot of good things in there. Ron Jankovic chimed in a little bit. He said, old school, seen, not heard, new school, promote what we do, and a little bit bigger personalities. Also, new school guys seem to be more open and willing to share, willing to put themselves out there. Now, I will say this, because as you know, I mean, you two both look awfully young. I'm turning into an old man, and I get accused of my old school stuff all the time, right? Now, it's mostly I put myself out there too, so you know, I'm easier to find for people to tell me that I'm old school, right? And so I have no problem pushing back a little bit as well. I've learned a ton about strength conditioning. The cool thing about strength conditioning to me is that the reality is that I feel like the actual study of this exercise science as a whole is fairly new. And I think, Cody Hughes, you really alluded to that you know, the truly studying the science of the body and the wellness is, it's all fairly new. So I feel like there would be less of the old versus new, yet it's still there. Now, one place that I wonder, you guys can tell me how you get there. The new, and it seems to be spreading out amongst other things. The new seems to be, it feels like, to an old school guy, it feels like we're getting like too nice. Like, do we lose any? How do we not lose any of the just old school toughness that a dude's got, right? You know what I mean? It sounds so dumb. And I think when I say that to like my wife or my sisters, I feel like they look at me like I'm dumb. But at the end of the day, right, I was a wrestler and a football player, and there's part of me that just wants to kind of, you know, thumb the nose and let's go, I can go. Does that just have no place in the world of strength, conditioning, and athleticism?
I don't think, I agree with you. I think sometimes we lose that part of it, especially in team sports. But I think you can have sound programming backed by science and still have a work ethic, like you're shut in a room and it's 90 degrees and you're sweating. I think, and that's another thing that we probably need to find a medium on is I'm sure in Cody's weight room, like they work very intentionally, really hard. My guys work really hard, very intentionally, but it's all programmed out. And that's something I've had to talk with coaches about. It's like, hey, I get it. We're not throwing 100% on the bar every other week, but we are going to get heavy, but then we are going to move stuff fast. We are going to work intentionally. And I think that's somewhere where we tend to miss each other too, especially old and new, from the like powerlifting, just as much weight on the bar, to, hey, this is okay to be scientific and hardworking. That would at least be my 2 cents on it.
You know, the game of football is so physical, and especially like you can't convince me, like right now, the whole new school mentality and, you know, everybody's rolling with Tony Holler's feed the cats, rest is everything, output is everything, racehorses over workhorses. You know, I'm with it, you know, but to be honest, I think psychology trumps physiology every time. And just because I know that a lot of people are like, why would you do something hard for the sake of it being hard if it's not going to help them better at their sport? You can have both, is what I'm saying. You can still program intelligently and still have things in place. Because here's the deal, like when it comes to intent and approach and how you go about your business, my players don't know that it's 90% or if it's 65%. I said, you approach 30 pounds like it's 300 every single time, and it'll take care of itself, right? Details and standards, how you walk in the room. Are you weighed in on time, right? Do you have a smile on your face? Are your shoes tied? Are you at the right rack? Do you have your sheet in the right spot? Do you have the right weight on the bar that's actually for you? Don't just put the weight on the bar that the last guy did because you're too freaking lazy to change the weight. All of those things are what I'm cultivating and what my head football coach does a great job of. And that's another thing we can talk on, like, is getting our guys to understand we want to what we call smother with standards, to where you have nowhere to hide. You can't go nowhere, and it's either you make the right decision or you get embarrassed because you made the wrong one, right? And that's when things start to turn. That's why last year we went from 5-6, and right now we're 5-0 and trying to go to 6-0 and win a region championship next year in 1 year. You know, it's those type of things, and you can't tell me that those intangibles don't matter. But that doesn't mean that it has to be one or the other when it comes to programming intelligently. Right, the programming part's fun on my part. The kids don't understand it. They don't need to know it. It has nothing to do with them. They don't care about it either. Like, for example, I got a buddy of mine who's a strength coach in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He said, it's so funny the day that I changed my terminology from snatch grip deadlift to wide grip deadlift. And the kids were like, oh, yeah, wide grip. They don't care about your stupid terminology, man. They don't care. It doesn't mean anything. Like, what matters is how you treat the kids and how you get things going. You know what I mean? And on the flip side, as a strength coach, look, I'm a support staff. I go to practice every day, but that's not my show. That's the football coach's show. I'm there to help. I'm there to shut up. I'm there to help practice go better. I'm there to help keep our kids in line. But if I'm not getting the same culture drive from my head coach, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter one bit. You know what I mean? I can run my classroom the way I need to run it, especially since where we're at, it's run as classes during school. But if you're not helping these kids realize, like, hey, this is the right thing to do, and when it gets hard, what decision are you going to make when it gets tough? Because in the game, if you want to win, and things are not always going to go as planned. You play against a really good team who understands how to game plan. You're probably going to see something you haven't seen on film.
Mm-hmm.
You just going to panic? We go down 7-0 in the first quarter. We're going to panic?
Mm-hmm.
Can we get experience in that fire to where we can go, hey, this ain't that bad. I've been there before. And that's why 2 weeks ago we went down 32-10 at halftime, and our defense coordinator was in the half, and he said, you know what, I'm not going to make a single adjustment, because if there's a one person in this room that doesn't believe we can't go back out here and win, these adjustments mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you want to tell me that they're not drawing on their training? Right? You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training. Right? That's a Navy SEAL quote. And we went out there and we shut them out and we won 36-32. So that's the type of things that I don't understand why old school and new school coaches have to clash on. Why can't we have both?
Well, I want to, I'm going to come back to you in a second, George. I want to check in with our guys in the chat. Guys, if you're just getting here, please check in and let us know where you're from. Following our live hangout here tonight, we'll be heading over, or not heading anywhere. Right here, we'll show one of our clinic videos from the online clinic. That's over at clinic.chiefpigskin.com, a project that I've worked very, very hard on. I've driven myself all over the nation, including down to MRA, George. Drove down to MRA this summer, and I've just got so much great content. And tonight's is from Matt Dickman out of Harrison High School in Georgia, and that is where Justin Fields went to high school, by the way. And I think actually Justin Fields, is in some of the footage from coach's examples from his clinic tonight. So that'll be on following this. Fellas, George, I'm ready to go to the next thing, but George, I want to give you a chance if you had another thought to add to that.
With the standards thing, it's really cool too when your kids see that happen. In the middle of the game, a couple weeks ago, we had a really big game, kind of unplanned. Not a lot of planning went into it. 2 teams backed out, so we met another team, and one of the kids was on the sideline. He was like, we just do the little things better. And that's something like the standards thing. Our thing that we say is the standard is the standard. Like, we're not going to miss it. Mm-hmm. And so when you smother them, I like that, the smother them with standards thing. Mm-hmm. They eventually pick it up too, and they understand, and then they start calling each other out, and it makes your job as a coach, especially a strength coach, way easier.
Man, no kidding. I love what you guys are saying. I've already written a handful of things down. The thing that I've picked up. So, and I've said it on my Power Hour show, but I've been coaching for 20 years now, and I have gone for 20 years without studying strength and conditioning. Now, I've always been the strength coach of the football team. I've been a head football coach the 11 previous years to last one. And I was the strength and conditioning coach of my team. And I was doing that for all those years without having had one single conversation with a strength and conditioning coach. Right? I say that now out loud, and I'm like, how embarrassing. But that's what I was doing. Now I've gone 8 straight weeks talking to strength and conditioning coaches. I got 4 weeks to go. Again, want to get you on Cody Hughes. And one thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot less of, it was like, I felt like I was trying to build this strong form, and then, okay, here's your form, go play a sport. And what I've noticed is, what I feel like, this is my take on it, I feel much more like strength coaches are doing much more of like wellness coaching, and rather than creating this form that's a certain shape and then you go and use this shape, it's like they're creating this strong, more of like something that's more, has more move to, or can be woven into place, right? It's moldable, it's movable. We're trying to function a certain way rather than just be strong, right? Because I like the way that you guys are thinking, because it's not about, I've spent a lot of years being caught up on how much a kid can power clean. That's always been the weight that we celebrate the most. My own son has grown up having these numbers in his head because he's grown up with daddy celebrating this weight. And at the end of the day, slowly but surely, especially through this 8-week program, I've gone, at the end of the day, what's really important, like what's real, not necessarily that number, right? I want them trying to improve, but there's so many more functionality things that I need to really be looking at that I've learned from a lot of these strength and conditioning things. Okay, so with all that being said, I'm going to take that comment and weave that, as I use that word weave, back into this. The number one thing I see with a problem with getting a strength coach and board, and like, for example, that I told you, in Illinois, they're practically non-existent. Not that coaches don't believe in strength and conditioning in Illinois, because they absolutely do. But when you look at any one high school, if there's 30 coaches on staff, you probably have 6 of them that really believe in strength. How do you guys continue as part of the profession, as us out-of-staters we want to bring the profession into our schools? How do we continue to win people over? How do we fight ignorance and continue to fight that having a person focusing on the wellness of the kids is a must?
It begins with relationships and administration. My position wouldn't exist if the president and our principal both and our athletic director weren't 3 former head coaches, that runs the school. If they didn't believe in, all of them are very active people. They believe in it, right? And I think one of the biggest selling points is that the weight room is a great way. Our kids are sitting in desks for 7 hours a day. It's a great way for them to get up and move, right? And you can sell it in that way, but it's like here at Madison Academy in Huntsville, like we're a Christian school, and we look at it from a spiritual standpoint of how it can be a microcosm of developing the person, right? You get in there and nobody really likes to work out. I mean, you come in, you don't feel good every day. There's times in our lives where we're not going to feel like doing something, and we still have to decide whether we're going to do it right or we're just going to try to hide. And then we have conversations when things happen, right? Do we have systems in place to be able to acknowledge, hey, why are you skipping reps? Hey, why are you late? Hey, why aren't you having your shoes tied? Hey, why didn't you fill this out? Let's have this conversation. Oh, you're telling me that you were messing around in math class. Oh, you were late to this. Oh, we have an entire problem. Now we can attack it. We can talk to the parents. It's human development, right? It's character development. And we sell it from that. But also on the other side is like, man, youth athletics, the injury epidemic is just continuing to rise, and I guarantee you that if you looked at the soft tissue injuries with coaches, with strength coaches, and one that don't, you would see a mighty difference. We've been very lucky here at MA, where I'm at, I've been here going on year 3, and we've only had 1 real soft tissue injury in 3 years. And we have 45 guys on our team that play both ways. A lot of luck goes into that, right? A lot of that goes into practice planning too. But to keep our kids healthy year round, right? Being able to step into their lives and be able to program and build things around and meet them where they're at, right? I'm not going to expect a kid that, look, they're going to go play 7-on-7. They're going to play travel ball. They're going to do all this. They're going to play AAU. They're going to do all these things. How can we meet them in the middle and fight that whatever they're wanting to do and what they love? How do we keep them healthy to enjoy what they love? That's what I tell my kids. Like, I don't care how much you lift, because you're not a power lifter. And last time I checked, there's not a squat rack at the 50-yard line at halftime to get 14 extra points. So it doesn't matter, right? I don't care. I care how you move, because it keeps you healthy. I care about how strong you are in a way, because strength is going to help your soft tissues be able to be resilient to forces you're going to see in sport. And I was like, let me ask you this. If you're hurt, you're where? On the bench. If you're on the bench, can you do what you love? No. Can you help us win? No. Then you get your butt in that squat rack and let's do it right. Let's make the connect. Sometimes we got to do things we don't love to do in order to get to the place where we can do what we love to do. Right. So that's kind of our mission of what I see and what the NHSSCA is doing. Guys, if you're not connected with the NHSSCA, please do. It's our national organization, Association of High School Strength Coaches. It is not just for formal strength coaches. It's for anybody that has to write down anything for a high school kid to resistance train or do any type of training. You are a strength coach, whether you like it or not, right? You're a sport coach that gets in the weight room and runs a workout. Guess what? You're also a strength coach. That's fine. Get connected with us. We can help you. There's resources like all over the place. And that's our mission, is to help every administrator, head coach to understand how important that this can be for high schools.
George, what thoughts do you got?
Similar. I know we're both in really good situations where administrators were former head coaches, the board members. We have a board. I'm not sure about Cody. The board was
we do.
With me, or like them hiring a strength conditioning position. So that part's nice. I know at the public school, it's a whole different world. And those guys, those are that really takes the big time administrators, your superintendents and everything getting behind it and saying, hey, we're going to make another position, another PE position. We're going to fund it and go that way. And for places that don't have that, like Cody said, the NHSCCA is awesome. The goal of it is to have just resources out there. And then kind of what you were saying is just like reaching out to people. I know if somebody hired me to go be a offensive coordinator right now, I'd have to make a lot of phone calls. It's been a long time since I played offensive football. So I would have to make a lot of phone calls. And it goes the same way. Football coaches, sport coaches, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. If you're having a run and weight room, kind of what you said, Nate, is like, why would you not call a strength coach? The people whose expertise that kind of sit in there all day, have studied it, reach out to those. I know very rarely have I run into a strength coach that's not willing to talk. And if they are, that's cool. That's their thing. I just won't try to talk to them again. Like, that's okay. But for every strength coach that doesn't want to talk, there's going to be 50 that want to and are willing to help out in any capacity.
Man, no doubt. Well, fellas, we're going to wind things down here. Already been a half an hour. It went very, very fast. You guys both were fantastic tonight, man. Guys in the chat, thank you for joining us. After this, we'll be going over, we will have a strength video from our clinic, out in the clinic. This one's from Matt Dickman out of Harrison High School, and he is the head football coach there. Let you know what they've been doing for strength and conditioning in their program. And they did go 15-0 a year ago and won the Georgia State title. And they did that without Justin Fields, so they must have a lot of good players. Well, fellas, as we kind of wind things down, I picked up a bunch of great things. I think that was another great thing is that understanding helping the kids understand that this is more about their playing time or winning games. This is their wellness, and like the stronger you get, like the lower your chance of injury, because you're taking care of your body, right? You're lowering the odds of soft tissue injury. So much is so good for everyone to be studying. I've been excited to begin studying. Fellas, as we wind this down, I want to give you each a chance just for any closing thoughts. Make sure you hit everybody with your Twitter handle, how they can get a hold of you, or if you want them to, and any closing thoughts. So we'll start with you, George, and we'll close with you, Cody.
It's similar to what kind of we've already said, just echoing it again. I think the biggest thing we can do and the biggest thing this pandemic has done for us is understand that a lot of people are willing to talk, and you can learn from just about anybody, learn something. So connect wise, I think my Twitter is @Coach G Adams. Instagram is the same. Always willing to talk. My cell phone's on there. I think the previous Power Hour stuff, it's all listed out. So anytime anybody wants to talk, especially right now being in quarantine. So I got all sorts of time.
Okay. Thanks, Coach. Coach Hughes?
Yeah, same thing. Just have an open mind and be willing to reach out. And it's the same thing on our end as strength coaches. I can't tell you how many sport coaches I've linked to try to talk to them and learn the skill side of things and how can we bridge that gap. So it goes both ways, and I hope that we can show that we're looking at the same way. We all have the same goal. We want to win. We want to develop young men, young women, and we want to give our kids the best chance to succeed. So we might as well link up. But if you want to get a hold of me, I'm most active on Twitter. It's @CLH_strength. My Instagram's the same, but my Instagram's a little more personal. I don't post as much on Instagram as I do on Twitter. People say that I'm pretty abrasive on Twitter, so follow at your own discretion.
If you follow Cody, you better get ready for some spice.
Yeah. It is what it is. But also, a little shameless plug here. I have 4 ebooks. I have one that's free. As far as resources to help high school coaches, I really feel a calling to help high school coaches out on how to do the day-to-day, how to manage, how to program, how to make sense of things. If you go to my Twitter, there's a link in my bio where you can find all of it. Like right now, I have all 4 of my ebooks on sale for $25. It's about an $80 value. If you want to go pick those up, you can, or you can just reach out to me personally and we can talk about how I can help set you up. I just try to create those to try to help any coach that's trying to learn strength and conditioning an easy, for like layman's terms, easy read, right, to instantly apply. So if you're interested in those, let me know. Other than that, like I said, follow at your own discretion.
Man, I've loved listening to you guys, and really appreciate your time. Ron Jankovic on the chat told everybody to buy those books. And Bruce Landstrom in the house out of Iowa. Welcome, Bruce. Great to see you. Fellas, can't say thank you enough. Please reach out at any time should you need anything, or if I can ever do anything for you guys. And best of luck to you guys in the future.
Appreciate you, Nate.
All right.
Appreciate you, Nate.
We'll
see
see
you.
you.
See y'all.
All of you guys in the chat, I'm going to go head over and switch the video over to our clinic video. The sound will go out for about 30 seconds, so you won't hear the intro music, but it'll be coming right back on. If you could leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, those things really help. Thanks so much for all you guys' support. Hopefully see you back here tomorrow night here on our YouTube channel to hang out with us some more.